to News Update on Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Before we begin, here are the headlines. Nigeria Police Inspector and military officers detained in connection with alleged coup plot against President Tinubu. Ndume says new tax regime fundamentally flawed, takes aim at Senate President Akpabio. APC governors detail closed-door meeting as party prepares for National Congress. Iyabo Obasanjo reportedly joins APC amid 2027 political realignment. Atiku Abubakar hosts ADC stakeholders, vows to rescue Nigerians from APC. Strike continues as NLC TUC pledge support for FCT workers. Boko Haram kills army commander, 7 soldiers in Damasak ambush. And now the news in full. Security agencies have expanded the investigation into an alleged coup plot targeting the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, detaining not only 16 military officers, but also a 7 Nigeria police inspector identified as Inspector Ahmed Ibrahim of Taraba State. The development represents the latest phase of a probe that has gripped the country's security establishment and drawn intense public interest. Inspector Ibrahim was reportedly arrested in Abuja by operatives of the Defense Intelligence Agency (DIA) after intelligence from detained military suspects pointed to his possible involvement in the alleged conspiracy. He is currently in DIA custody as investigators work to determine the extent of his role. Earlier in January, a special investigative panel convened by the Defense Headquarters (DHQ) concluded its inquiry into the behavior of a group of senior and mid-level military personnel. The panel subsequently indicted 16 officers for actions inconsistent with military discipline and service regulations, which authorities say relate to the broader plot allegations. The officers named by security force sources include Brigadier General Musa Abubakar Sadiq, Colonel M.A. Maaji, Lieutenant Colonel S. Bappa, Lieutenant Colonel A.A. Hayatu, Lieutenant Colonel M. Almakura, Major A.J. Ibrahim, Major M.M. Jidda, Major M.A. Usman, Major D. Yusuf, Major I. Dauda, Captain Ibrahim Bello, Captain A.A. Yusuf, Lieutenant S.S. Felix, Lieutenant Commander D.B. Abdullahi, Squadron Leader S.B. Adamu. Those officers and the inspector with cases to answer are expected to face court-martial proceedings or other appropriate tribunals in accordance with military law and procedure. Officials have not disclosed detailed investigations tying the suspects to specific acts against the government, and the Defense Headquarters statement has stressed that the process is not intended to be political but to uphold internal discipline. Former Senate leader Ali Ndume has sharply criticized Nigeria's newly implemented tax regime, describing it as fundamentally flawed and calling on the National Assembly to revisit provisions to protect ordinary Nigerians. Ndume, who singled out Senate President Godswill Akpabio in his comments, asserting that legislative leadership must do more to shield citizens from what he said are inequitable tax burdens. The criticisms come amid early feedback following the rollout of the updated tax reform, which was introduced as part of broader fiscal reforms aimed at simplifying the tax system, improving compliance, and boosting government revenue. While the government says the changes will grow the tax base and make the system fairer, public reactions have been mixed, with some economists and stakeholders welcoming parts of the reform and others warning about potential negative impact on take-home pay and business costs. Ndume argued that certain components of the regime, including adjustments to pay-as-you-earn brackets and exemption risk, raising the tax burden on some workers while failing to sufficiently relieve low-income earners. He maintained that the Senate, as a key player in reviewing and amending fiscal legislation, bears responsibility for ensuring that major tax statutes are equitable and in the public interest. In addressing Akpabio's leadership role, Ndume called for more robust legislative oversight, saying strategic adjustments and clarifications are needed before the regime takes full effect in annual fiscal calendars. The All Progressives Congress (APC) Governors, under the umbrella of the Progressive Governors Forum (PGF), have provided fresh details on a recent closed-door meeting with the party's National Working Committee (NWC), reaffirming their commitment to internal reform and preparations ahead of the 2026 Congress calendar. At the meeting held on Wednesday at the Imo State Governors Lodge in Asokoro, Abuja, the governors endorsed the party's timetable for forthcoming ward, local government, state, zonal, and national congresses and emphasized the importance of transparent and coordinated management of party affairs across all levels. Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, chairman of the PGF, said the forum supports the nationwide electronic membership registration initiative and reaffirmed its collective resolve to strengthen APC structures as the party heads into the election cycle. Governors are also committed to financial transparency and accountability in the conduct of congresses and conventions, attracting attention from stakeholders ahead of the 2027 general elections. At the event, attendance included a broad cross-section of APC state executives and representatives from the NWC, led by National Chairman Nentawe Ilwata. The PGF's endorsement of the APC Congress timetable and its emphasis on party discipline are seen as efforts to consolidate support within the ruling party and minimize factional tensions as organizational activities intensify nationwide. Professor Iyabo Obasanjo, daughter of former President Olusegun Obasanjo and former Senator representing Ogun Central, has reportedly completed her online registration as a member of the All Progressives Congress in Ogun State, according to political sources. Obasanjo, an associate professor of public health at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, finalized her membership on Tuesday at Ibogun Ward 11 in Ifo local government area, a development confirmed by Honorable Biodun Ajayi, a former chairman of Abeokuta South local government and close family ally. While the APC's Ogun State Publicity Director Femi Nuberu neither explicitly confirmed or denied the action, he emphasized that the ongoing party membership registration is open to all eligible Nigerians aged 18 and above, as part of the party's broader membership drive ahead of the 2027 general elections. Obasanjo's reported affiliation with the APC comes against a backdrop of speculation over her possible political return, stoked last year by campaign-style billboards in Abeokuta bearing her image. The former commissioner and ex-senator has maintained that she has not formally pursued political office, though her supporters have publicly encouraged her potential candidacy. We will now go on a short break, and when we come back, the news will continue. Stay tuned.
The Papyrus Global, we don't just cover events, we create cinematic experiences. From red carpets to birthdays, gala dinners, and your fairy tale weddings, we bring your moments to life with high-tech precision. Our gadgets are smarter, our lenses sharper, and our team simply world-class. Trust the Papyrus Global to tell your story in the boldest, brightest way possible.
Welcome back, and now the news will continue. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has hosted a delegation of African Democratic Congress (ADC) stakeholders from Kebbi State, reiterating his commitment to galvanizing a broad political coalition aimed at rescuing Nigerians from the ruling All Progressives Congress ahead of the 2027 general elections. Speaking on Wednesday in Abuja, Atiku characterized the current APC-led administration as having derailed from the Progressives' vision that initially brought the party to power, and asserted that opposition forces must coalesce around a new political platform capable of restoring good governance, security, and economic stability. In his remarks, the former vice president emphasized that the ADC represents a convergence of diverse political actors who share a common goal of reversing what he called 4 years of political and economic setbacks under the APC. The ADC delegation from Kebbi State, part of a wider outreach by the party's national leadership, pledged support for Atiku's leadership in the efforts to unify opposition voices and build grassroots momentum. Key figures present include local party officials and community leaders committed to strengthening the ADC's organizational structure across northern Nigeria. The ongoing strike by workers in the Federal Capital Territory (FCT) has entered the second week as the Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) and the Trade Union Congress (TUC) formally pledged their support for the action, stressing the need for stronger negotiations on workers' welfare and conditions of service. At a joint meeting with FCT workers' representatives, both labor federations described the industrial action as a legitimate response to unresolved demands, including adjustments to salary structures, payment of outstanding allowances, and assurances against punitive measures for striking employees. In a statement issued after the consultation, the NLC and TUC emphasized that the strike reflects deep-seated concerns across civil service ranks in the nation capital, calling on the FCT administration and the federal government to return to the negotiating table with honest dialogue and workable solutions. Labour leaders also warned that should progress in talks remain slow or stagnant, they may consider expanding solidarity actions beyond Abuja, signaling the possibility of coordinated national responses. Suspected Boko Haram militants have killed a commanding officer and 7 Nigerian soldiers in a deadly ambush in the Damasak Mobile local government area of Borno State, security sources confirmed. The attack occurred on Monday, January 26th, when military personnel were deployed on patrol in the northeast region, a persistent flashpoint for insurgent activity. The soldiers were reportedly ambushed by heavily armed insurgents, forcing a fierce gunfight that resulted in multiple casualties. Troops later recovered the bodies of the deceased, including a newly promoted lieutenant colonel who was leading the patrol from Maiduguri toward Damasak. Several other soldiers were reported injured, and an undetermined number remain missing as the situation continues to develop. Security sources quoted by international agencies also reported that a significant number of personnel, including the commanding officer, may have been captured by the militants during the encounter, although details remain unconfirmed by official military statements. The killing of frontline troops add to long-standing concerns about the capacity of insurgent cells to conduct coordinated attacks, despite ongoing counter-insurgency operations by the Nigerian military and allied forces in the region. Boko Haram and its breakaway faction Islamic State West Africa Province (ISWAP) continue to exploit complex terrain and mobility to strike security formations in northeastern Nigeria. And that's all we have on the news update on Papyrus Global TV. I am Christiana Babayo. Thanks for joining us.